What if I told you that one of the most expensive independent films ever made, a passion project 20 years in the making, opened behind Spider-Man, a Planet of the Apes sequel, and a Despicable Me movie? That's the story of Valerian and the City of 8,000 Planets, a $180 million sci-fi epic with a visionary director, stunning world building, and absolutely zero chance at a sequel. So today, let's explore the history, break down why it failed, and I'll give you my honest take on whether this movie deserved its fate. The story of Valerian begins with one man, French filmmaker Luc Besson. You probably know him as the guy behind Leon the Professional, Lucy, and The Fifth Element. As a kid, Besson was obsessed with the French comic series Valérian and Laureline, a space opera that ran from 1967 all the way to 2010. Genuinely iconic in Europe, almost completely unknown in the United States. The idea to adapt it first came to him in 1997. On the set of The Fifth Element, comic writer Jean-Claude Messier, who was working on that film, looked at Besson and said, "Why are you making this when you could be making Valerian?" And the seed was planted. But for years, Besson held him back. The scale felt impossible. It wasn't until Avatar in 2009, when James Cameron proved that an entirely digital alien world could work, that Besson thought, maybe now is the time. He threw out his existing script and started fresh. By 2012, the project was officially announced. By 2015, they had a release date, July 21st, 2017, and two lead actors, Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne. Here's where it gets wild. Besson went independent. No major studio, no safety net. He took the project to Cannes in 2015 with a script, a presentation, and his 2 stars, and pitched the movie to around 70 foreign distributors. He locked in 60 to 70% of the budget that way. The rest came from private investors, including 50 million from a company called Fundamental Films. By the time cameras rolled in January 2016, the budget had hit $180 million. That made it the most expensive European film and the most expensive independent film ever made. When asked how he was sleeping at night, Besson said, "I always sleep very well. I never forget that it's only a film. I'm not a surgeon saving lives." And honestly, fair enough. The man had conviction. Pre-production was extraordinary. Besson wrote a 600-page Bible documenting every species, biography, and piece of lore in the world before a single frame was shot. Storyboarding took 7 months. They even got permission from Paul McCartney to use a Beatles master recording in the trailer, the first time that had ever been done for a film advertisement. Principal photography wrapped 3 days ahead of schedule. For a blockbuster of this scale, that's almost unheard of. Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets opened on July 21st, 2017, and immediately ran into a wall. Opening weekend, $17 million. 5th place at the US box office. US total, $41 million. International, $184 million. Worldwide, $225 million. Budget, $180 million. Before marketing and distribution. An estimated loss, $80+ million. The reviews weren't much kinder. IMDb 6.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes critics 47% and the audience 53%. Besson's franchise dreams were quietly buried. There are several reasons, and they all stack on top of each other in a really damaging way. First, nobody knew what this was. The Valerian and Laureline comics are beloved in France, but American audiences had never heard of them. And to make it worse, the filmmakers dropped Laureline's name from the title entirely, leaving us with the unnecessarily complicated Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. We have seen this exact mistake before with John Carter. Same problem. Unknown IP, US audiences stay away. Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne are respected. They are not A-listers capable of carrying a $180 million franchise. Just like Andrew Stanton with John Carter, Besson went out of his way to cast non-mainstream faces. Noble intention. The result? No star power to fall back on when marketing struggled. July 2017 was one of the most competitive release windows in recent memory. Spider-Man Homecoming, War for the Planet of Apes, Despicable Me 3, all still in the top 5, but the real killer was Dunkirk, which opened the exact same weekend and grossed $50 million. Critic Scott Mendelson put it perfectly in Forbes. Dunkirk stole every one of Valerian's talking points. Visionary director, original story, a film you have to see on the biggest screen possible. Dunkirk owned that conversation and Valerian got buried. I have genuinely complicated feelings about this movie. I respect the ambition enormously. The opening 5 minutes, showing humanity's evolution into the space age, set to David Bowie, are genuinely stunning. The world building is impressive in a way very few films even attempt. There's a scene where a character falls through multiple floors, and every single floor has a completely different aesthetic. That kind of commitment deserves recognition. But then the movie starts and the problems pile up fast. The casting is a real issue. Dane DeHaan is a talented actor. See Chronicle or A Cure for Wellness. But here he plays Valerian like a frat boy doing an impression of a sci-fi hero. There's a very fine line between lovable rogue and an overconfident prick. And unfortunately, DeHaan lands on the wrong side of it. Cara Delevingne is worse. Too many of her line deliveries feel flat and disengaged, like she's reading from a page rather than inhabiting a character. And their chemistry, almost non-existent. I read reviews where multiple people said they genuinely thought the characters were siblings for the first half of the film. That's a problem when they are supposed to be romantic partners. The plot feels like a video game. The film constantly sends characters on side quests before they can advance the main story. Valerian gets lost. Laureline has to find him, but first she needs info from 3 duck aliens who tell her she needs a special jellyfish, which means bribing a submarine driver to steal that jellyfish from some giant whale creatures. That side quest takes 15 minutes and had almost no bearing on the central plot. Then the film does the exact same thing when Laureline gets kidnapped. Another set of characters who appear and vanish without moving anyone's arc forward. That's 30 minutes of filler in a movie that already feels overstuffed. This is the core problem. Besson fell in love with every corner of the world he built and couldn't leave any of it on the cutting room floor. It feels like 3 movies mashed into one. We've seen this pattern with Megalopolis, Babylon, Beau is Afraid, films full of dazzling ideas that buckle under the weight of their own ambition. The verdict: Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets is a sad story dressed up in beautiful visuals. The passion is real, the craftsmanship is often stunning, but Besson fell into the same traps that have sunk every ambitious sci-fi original before him. Unknown IP, weak star casting, poor marketing, and creative indulgence that no one was willing to push back on. It's a film that deserved to be something great and settled for being something fascinating. That's just my take. What's yours? Did you see Valerian? Do you think it deserved a second chance? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you next week.